Most of the stories you're about to hear are true. One is greatly exaggerated. The money was just too good to turn down. These are their stories. I remember the first time I saw Moonman, and everyone around me was talking about Lunatone, right? Lunatone this, Lunatone that. And so I went out and I found a wild Lunatone. And so I caught it, and everybody knows, when you catch the Pokemon, you get that bing boom noise in your brain that says, would you like to name your wild Pokemon? Like give it a nickname or something like that. And so most of the time I say no, but then it said, instead of saying Lunatone, it said, would you like to give Moonman a name? And I said, maybe I caught one already with a nickname. So then I went and found another one. And I said, you're mine, Lunatone, and it didn't turn around. And so I was like, well, let me call it Moonman. So, you're mine, Moonman. And he turned around, and eyes glowing red, and said, stop calling me Lunatone, my name is Moonman, Moonman. And then he never spoke any other words. He just says Moonman now. So, I caught him, the bing bong went off in my head, boom, boom, and said, would you like to give Moonman a nickname? And so I said no, and I released him into the wild because I can't be having that kind of scary times in my Pokemon inbox.
Well, I suppose my first mistake was going to Walmart instead of supporting a local business. But I went to Walmart one day to get one of these little, yellow nutrition sticks. And while I was shopping for it, I thought, wow, my skin is so red from the sun. It's very hot. Let me go buy some sunscreen. And so I was looking at the sunscreen selection, and I noticed they had a new brand called Lunatone Deluxe. And I looked at the Lunatone Deluxe, and I said, wow, that's just like that Pokemon, Lunatone. And no sooner than I had said that did I hear screaming coming from the food and produce section that I was just in. And people were running out of the way of this giant moon-like creature who I had come to know and love as Lunatone. But his eyes were just glowing a dark red, and he was visibly angry. There was a trail of stomped on bananas. There was a trail... I'm messing up, man. There was a trail of stomped on carrots in his wake, and he came up to me and he said, my name's not Lunatone, my name is Moonman, Moonman. And then he just zoomed straight up, destroyed the ceiling, and I'm pretty sure I've got asbestos infection now, so I've got to go to the doctor to check that out. But yeah, next time you go out shopping, be sure to support a local business and go to Walmart.
I remember my first encounter with a Lunatone, or should I say Moonman. You don't actually call it Lunatone because I was out in a field full of Clefairies, and if you've ever been around just one Clefairy before, they're super annoying with moon stuff. All they talk about is the moon. They just, in Clefairy voice, they're like, Clefairy, 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 pointing at the moon and stuff. So most of the time you just want Clefairies to be out in the daytime because they don't talk. But at night, just constant yammering about the moon. Well, I was in an entire field full of Clefairies, and they were just yakking away about how the moon was up there. And so I was just like, oh, whatever, I'll humor them. I'll look at the moon. And I looked up, and it had quite a prominent nose feature. And that's when I was like, oh, hey, Clefairies, look, it's Lunatone. And its eyes just bulged out and looked directly at me. It peered straight into my soul. It burned this bright glowing red color that I've never seen before, and it made me regret everything I've ever done in that same instance. And it said, stop calling me Lunatone, my name is Moonman, Moonman. And then started looking at every Clefairy instantly and forcing them to evolve. And they were screaming horrible blood-curdling screams like I'd never heard before. Clefairies they're normally happy, peaceful creatures, but when they all evolved at the same time, they all turned into Clefables. But these Clefables were horrible monstrosities, and then Lunatone flew away into the night. left me with all these moaning and screaming Clefairies that were now Clefables. I actually don't know if they were really Clefables or not.
One time I was at the park, and it was nighttime. And why was I at a park at nighttime? That's a whole different story. But I was going to my favorite little staircase by the water, and I looked up at the moon, at what I thought was the moon, but then I noticed there were two moons. And I said, oh, that must be Lunatone. And as soon as I said that, one of the moons turned just blood red and came hurtling out of the sky toward the ground. If you've ever played Elden Ring, it's like that boss. And right next to me landed this bright red rock and created a 30-foot crater into the ground. My favorite park was now ruined, and in the middle of this crater jumped up Lunatone. And I said, Lunatone, what are you doing here? You should be in the sky. And burning red, he looked at me in the most chaotic voice he could ever think of. And he said,
my name's not Lunatone. My name's Moonman.
And then he jumped up and screamed into the sky. And no joke, he ran into the actual moon. And that's why when you look up at the moon now, you'll see that the moon is actually two moons, because one moon is the moon and the other moon is Lunatone. I don't know. That's what somebody told me.